And welcome back to Continue Freedom. If this is your first time here, welcome aboard. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. We're on X, Locals, Rumble, and YouTube. If you are a new guest, thank you so much for coming here. If you're a returning guest, I really want to thank you as well, because you all are the ones that are keeping this channel going. Now, you've probably noticed that I have not released a video in about a week. That's because it's been very hectic. So we had the storm, obviously, that came through. I wound up going with my buddy Chuck out to some of the local areas that were still without power in our particular area. And he's great. Like, you've seen him on the show, by the way. So Chuck is the same guy that's popped on the podcast every now and then. And we sit and talk about anything and everything. But he and his wife were able to coordinate supplies, drove all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina, with a van full of generosity and an account full of money to buy supplies to take to people in East Tennessee that have been affected, to take to people in North Carolina that have been affected. So he drove all over the place, took his time, took his effort, and I went with him for one of the days, and it was fantastic. And so that's a small segment of the generosity that's being seen all over the country, and or from all over the country in Western North Carolina, East Tennessee, North Georgia. So people are experiencing things in this region of the world that they've never experienced before. And here we are. We're now getting ready to experience something else. It's on the horizon in Florida this time. And they're already suffering from the shortages. They're realizing what shortages they have. And FEMA says, it reports that it has under 10% of frontline staff available ahead of Hurricane Milton. So we hit Helene, and it wreaks utter destruction on Florida, North Georgia, East Tennessee, Western North Carolina, that whole region of the world that is going to be out for months, years it's going to take to recover. But until basic essential services are delivered again, it's going to be months for some of these people. They've lost everything. And boom, again, we hit, and I'm not going to get into the conspiracy theories, by the way, but I could go for hours and hours talking about the conspiracy theories, the Cyrus Project, things from the past that have already told, that should be telling us that weather manipulation is an actual thing. Let's put all that aside and say that American citizens coming to the rescue of their fellow American citizens is where most things are happening. It's where the bulk of the of the progress is made, and that when FEMA gets involved, people think, oh, FEMA coming to the rescue. FEMA's going to fix everything. Well, they will fix some things, but in this instance, a mayor of a North Carolina town says his daughter was denied $750 fund from FEMA after her home was destroyed. So the daughter of Newland, North Carolina's mayor, who lost her home in Hurricane Helene, was turned down for the $750 FEMA emergency grant, she says. And by the way, let's be very clear about something. I'm going to be as clear as possible. This is not $750 per person. This is per household. Per household. So lest we forget the countless videos out there of store clerks and people taking photos of illegal immigrant EBT receipts from their cash on hand, and they've got $13,000, they've got $20,000, they've got tens of thousands of dollars at their disposal. But American citizens are getting turned down for the FEMA money, i.e. for their tax money. What they paid into the because you're supposed to get a return on your investment, right? That's why they say we should take more and more and more taxes. More taxes is a good thing because it's going to give you a return on your investment. And then when your entire life is turned upside down and you apply to the person in white tennis shoes with a clipboard that works for FEMA, they say, actually, no, I don't. You don't seem to qualify. She got approved for $300 for personal items. What's that supposed to do? The mayor says. That's literally all she got. Her entire first floor is wiped out. We hauled everything off. It's gone. That won't ever cover what's in her. Won't even cover what's in her refrigerator. But that's all FEMA says that they can afford to provide you. Billions and billions and billions of dollars, plus the $634 million that they have shifted over to illegal immigrants, people that aren't citizens, that have never paid into the system. take that $630 million, give it to those illegals. You American citizens, look, we'll give you $750. If that's enough, all we need is your vote in return. We can't rely. This is the problem, folks. When the federal government gets so big and it's spending so much money, we can't rely on them on a regular basis. Like this is. I don't know how else to explain it to people. And we're experiencing shortfalls. I'm going to get back to this first article that I was talking about. But the federal FEMA has less than 10% of frontline staff available for deployment amid preparations for the second major hurricane to hit the southeast this month, according to the agency's daily operations briefing. FEMA released a daily briefing on Wednesday, revealing the agency had only 8% or 1,115 FEMA staff members currently available as preparations continue for Hurricane Milton, which is expected to hit Florida in the coming days. The number represents a significant drop in availability from a year prior, after an operation briefing from late September 2023 showed the agency had 20% of the same staff available for deployment. Where are all these extra staff? What are all these staff doing? There's other natural disasters going on. Wyoming is being burned to the ground, and nobody seems to be talking about it. But where's the 80% of the people that our tax dollars are paying, the FEMA employees, that when what seems to be one of the largest, if not by the time it makes landfall, the largest hurricane in our nation's history, we got 10%, we're a little less than 10% to help you guys. And don't worry, your $750 will be a check in the mail. We'll have it to you very, very soon. And there's the videos out there I think have mostly been debunked about the helicopter flying over that was let me see if I can find that video. The one that was hitting the FEMA or the local, here it is. So this is at a local shelter at a donation point. This helicopter comes in and everybody's like, what in the world? What's this helicopter doing? You can see here the tents flying away, and it looked like it was an intentional here, I didn't even show it to you. Good grief, I didn't have the camera up. Let's show that again. Sorry. So you could see all the tents and everything, and there's a closer shot somewhere, but you can see all those tents down there at the bottom left of the screen. You can see them blowing away, and here's a positive. I will say that this is actually a positive, that the internet response was, why are they doing this on purpose? That means that there is a significant distrust for the federal government amongst the populace. If that's the response, which it was in spades, that's how people responded. They assumed that these government helicopters were doing it on purpose. And that's not a bad thing, because we have to build a bit of distrust in the federal government, because when there is distrust in the federal government, we are less willing to hand over our resources and what we have at our disposal to that federal government. So I was happy. I'm not happy, obviously, that happened. Now, a guy came on, I think it was Glenn Beck had showed it, and he took a caller. He's got millions of subscribers. Get me to millions of subscribers. If you're watching this video so far, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. But he had a call-in person on his radio show who said this looks to be unintentional. But that doesn't mean that we just say, okay, well, this was unintentional, so all of it's unintentional. No. There are other videos out there of such as FEMA parking helicopters on active runways where civilians volunteering their aircraft were taking off and delivering supplies to places in western North Carolina. And FEMA parked the helicopters right on the runway, stopped all of that, and slowed down the process. Why? Because the federal government is more concerned about controlling the situation, no matter how slow it happens to be. Don't let those pesky civilians go out there and do their thing. We have to control this. This is how bureaucracies work. They have to manage and control everything in that situation. And it stops the progress of people with a bit of ingenuity and a bit of drive, which you're not going to find in FEMA, by the way. This is why bureaucracies suck. Why a massive federal government sucks. because driven by, pure motives with whatever resources they have, it is amazing. Tim Kennedy said this, a couple of days ago. He said, send all the PhDs and all the master's degrees, go back to Washington. He said, give me one redneck with a chainsaw over 100 PhDs down here. You all go back where you came from. Give me a redneck with a chainsaw. Get the chainsaw in the hand of the guy with the UTV or the ATV. He will get out here. He will clear the roads. He will make things safer for people. He will deliver supplies. He will get far more done than somebody with a clipboard, access to our tax dollars, a pair of white tennis shoes, and their lawn chair sitting out at the back corner of a parking lot with a FEMA sign on the side of their truck. Those people can go on home. Give the resources to the people who are actually making a difference. But instead, FEMA stops it consistently. And it really, really bugs me. But I'll be honest, it was telling. I mean, when this came out, I mean, obviously this made waves all over the internet. Kamala Harris saying, we'll get you the $750. Oh, come on. You can't eat or drink money. Get them the supplies. And, Karine Jean-Pierre, I don't know if you all happened to see this or not, but she came out and was, the irony was very rich. And of course, these people think that they're still going to lie to folks and that people are going to pay attention, but the internet is forever. And we were able to see videos from back in 2022. Here, I'll show this one to you. This is on X, but it was published by somebody else. Here, take a look at this one. She says, no, we didn't send any money to, no money was given to illegal immigrants from the FEMA fund.
Okay. I wanted to ask if the White House plans any legal responses for the state sending migrants on buses, and secondly, if there's plans to
these Republican officials to create chaos and confusion at the border. We are working to manage the consequences of including this latest political charade that we're seeing. So FEMA regional administrators have been meeting with city officials on site to coordinate available federal support from FEMA and other federal agencies. Funding is also available through FEMA's emergency food and shelter program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request.
There you go. No, we never gave. They came out. She said, this is ridiculous. This is a right-wing talking point that we gave FEMA money to illegal immigrants. And here, there you go. You heard it straight from the horse's mouth. FEMA emergency response funds have been provided at request. If you want the money, of course, who's not going to take the money? They're all going to take the money. But if you just ask for the money, we'll give you the money. It's not a problem. And now they're telling us, no, that never happened. Now, again, I'm not going to get into the conspiracy theories of it. I really want to. There's so many of them. Oh, there's so many conspiracy theories about the cloud seeding and Project Cirrus. We celebrated the 70th anniversary, apparently, of Project Cirrus. Where we redirected and seeded our first hurricane. The fact that we were doing this back in the 70s, back during the Vietnam War, trying to flood out the VC, cloud seeding, creating tsunamis, or not tsunamis, but massive rainfall and strengthening storms so that we could bomb them with rain, so to speak. Oh, no. That's all conspiracy theory, even though it's part of the public record and you can actually read about it. I'll get into that in a whole separate episode. But let's go ahead and keep talking about some other topics. Okay, I've talked for 14 minutes now about FEMA and the storms. How about this? Illegal immigration is still a massive problem. And there's some parents, some parents that are pissed about it. And the school board just walked out because an MS-13 gang member, multiple, I guess this is plural. So a Virginia school board meeting came to an abrupt halt on Tuesday when parents expressed concerns about an MS-13 gang member's enrollment. Yes, so it was one. It was singular. At Loudoun Valley High School, Loudoun County. I don't know why why are you still living in Loudoun County? Sell your house, maybe get a little money for it, and bebop yourself into another zip code. Because Loudoun County is It has been the epicenter for BS for a very, very long time. These school boards, the city council, these people are unhinged nut jobs is the only thing that I can think of to call them. But the student is an illegal immigrant with a criminal record who was suspended from Blue Ridge Middle School in May of 2023 for bringing a firearm to school and threatening students. A worried father confronted the Loudoun County School Board about the issue, but the elected officials refused to address the concerns and stormed out of the room. One school board member shut him down within seconds of him giving a public comment, stifling the father's allotted time behind the podium. Oh, let's watch it on X. Like I love it when the parents get involved, because that's what it's going to take. By the way, your kids are being put in danger. Your kids are being subject to liberal policies, and it takes the parents speaking out about it. So kudos to the parents who do this.
Recently, the local media covered a story where a known gang member with a criminal record that was suspended from LCPS was allowed back into school. That's public information. It's part of the media. It's a news story. Channel 9 did a news story on it. This is public information.
I'm sorry that this is...
No, I'm not stopping. I'm not stopping. Everyone knows that there are gangs and drugs in LCPS. Students know, parents know.
This is the common MO. Start talking over people, shutting them down. They don't want people to hear opposing points of view. They don't want people questioning the system. They don't want people questioning the authority figures. So they shut them down. They start talking over them. They'll mute their microphones. It's abysmal. And people keep voting for it. If you're voting for the Democrat Party, this is what you're voting for. Censorship, lack of accountability. The First Amendment is there for la-di-da-di everybody. You can say the craziest thing you want to say, and we as the discerning minds in the conversation, we as the educated civilian population are supposed to hear all the points of view and make our own assessment. If you listen to me and you hate me, that's your right. You can do that. I'm not about shutting down the Krasensteins or Harry Sisson or any of these silly left-wing people. I want people to hear how ridiculous they sound. I'm all for it. Open up all communications. Let everybody hear everything available to them, and then make their own decision. Because the censorship is what's leading to stuff like this. It's saying, no, we have to, control the messaging on TikTok and on Instagram and all this to say that this sort of thing is good. Now, 3.3% of American teens identify as trans, and more than 5,700 underwent medical sex change from 2019 to 2023. What did we hear from the Democrat Party, from the left, from the mainstream media about teen transitions? They said this never happens. It doesn't happen. Teens aren't transitioning. Young kids aren't transitioning. 5,700 of them underwent medical sex change. What's the value to the not the military industrial complex? I was about to say that, but the pharmacies, the big pharma. What's the value of each of those 5,700 just in the surgery? About $1 million a piece. How much are they going to make over the course of their entire life? Because they will become a patient for life. Every sex change requires them to be a patient for life. You're talking about medications and follow-on procedures and all of that. You're talking about millions and millions of dollars a piece. And what did we hear from the left? Oh, this never happens. Oh, that's ridiculous. New research says 5,700 at least have. The trans trend in the U.S., this is from the Post-Millennial, shows no signs of abating, even as other nations take a step back and reconsider their approaches to treating gender dysphoria and how they deal with the social contagion. Some 3% of high school students now identify as trans, per a new CDC report released on Tuesday, and another 2.2% are questioning their gender identity. In 2023, there were some 17 million high school students in the U.S., meaning that of those, some 570,000 students believe they are trans, and 380,000 are not sure if they are trans. This is a social contagion. This is something that is brought on by social media, by a need to belong, by people following. I mean, social media, when we got into the clickbait culture, we got into people valuing or assigning value to their life based on likes and subscribers and how many people respond to their photos on vacation and whatever it happened to be. Their social media presence became their life. And the thing that started to gain more traction because of what social media was pushing was the trans movement. Therefore, other people are saying, because it's kind of innocuous to an uninformed young person that saying I'm non-binary, right? I can kind of float either way. That's kind of a low commitment sort of thing, right? This is feeding the confusion of these kids. It is developing and fostering gender dysphoria in them. Therefore, we have seen a significant rise. Now, if you're an adult and you want to do this, I think that in a constitutional representative republic, in a true free society, you can go do it. I think that more than just one frame of or one perspective on that should be delivered to you, i.e., you shouldn't just be getting doctors that are saying, here's all the benefits to it, and it's going to change everything, and it's going to make it all better, because we know by research that it doesn't. But I believe that, hey, here are the pros, here are the cons. You are an adult. Make your own decision. Let's make sure that you go through a bit of counseling first, that sort of thing. Let's explore your gender dysphoria and try to work on a counseling approach before we start ripping people's genitals apart. But if you ultimately decide that you want to do it, you're free to do it. You are free to do it. But when it comes to the kids, this is where most people, myself included, have a monstrous beef. This is child abuse. And yet it's becoming part of mainstream society. And that's a problem. That's a huge, huge problem. And the fact that the parents that are doing this, I believe, should be put in jail. If you take your kid, your young child, your adolescent, and you carve up their genitals, removing their ability to, and I'm sorry I'm going to get a bit graphic here, but you remove their ability to ever have children, to ever have an orgasm, to ever, breastfeed their children if they are women trying to be men. You're getting mastectomies. You are giving them drugs that could potentially cause issues. I believe wholeheartedly, unequivocally, no questions asked, that you should be put in prison for child abuse. And that's probably going to get me banned from YouTube. But you know what? So be it. The CDC also dug into the demographics of trans, finding that differences in demographic characteristics were observed by transgender identity. Approximately half of cisgender students reported female sex, 47.5%. Approximately two-thirds of transgender or questioning students reported female sex, 64.2% and 64.3% respectively. Differences in race and ethnicity by transgender identity were observed. A lower proportion of transgender students identified as black and higher proportions identified as white compared with cisgender or questioning students. In addition, for questioning students, differences in grade. How did this become an anomaly that we are having to deal with now? And you know what? We're literally carving up kids, ruining their lives forever. If they come to their senses, the kid that wanted to be a princess, the kid that then wanted to be, playing cowboys and Indians, and then the kid wants to say that I'm something else now that I'm a boy, any little thing that they can tag on to. Any of that confusion, parents are emboldening that, and they are carving up their kids. And then you have an entire side of the political spectrum that supports them on that. And they are saying, nope, that's what I support. But mean tweets, that I cannot abide. I cannot stand by the mean tweets. Heaven forbid we have mean tweets. When we are destroying the reproductive capabilities of babies, of little kids. Mean tweets, that's what we need to focus on. That's the real problem, people. Mean tweets. Mean tweets. But despite all their efforts, Trump continues to make monstrous headway. He really does. He's going to host a rally in New York City's iconic Madison Square Garden, and I guarantee you it's going to be sold out. It's got a seating capacity of, I think, 20,000. Let's see. The rally will be a first-come, first-serve event. Good. It's good that they're not doing the ticket sales, because the ticket sales, they always get bombed by the leftists, and then the leftists don't show up. So do a first come, first serve. That's the way you do it. It will be the third event in the New York City area to feature Trump in recent months, as the former president attracted about 16,000 supporters for a rally in Uniondale, Long Island last month. A recent rally held in the Bronx this past summer also brought out huge numbers of supporters to Crotona Park. I don't know what that is. It's unbelievable. He continues to rise in the polls. Kamala continues to dip in the polls. Because you know what? People don't care about the mean tweets. They're over the mean tweets. Fine. Look, Bill Clinton flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane numerous times, and yet he was a polished politician who balanced the budget. Oh, yeah. George Bush was a former cokehead and alcoholic, but he was polished. He was likable, and he got us embroiled in a 25-year-long war. There was never the pushback that we've seen since Trump. Oh, and Obama. Obama was changing everything. Hope and change, right? We finally got somebody with the right amount of melanin to come into the White House, because that's why a lot of people vote. They said, it's just time, right? It's just time. Same thing they're saying with Kamala, by the way. It's just time to have a woman in the White House. Meanwhile, Obama, he was open about his marijuana use, and then, of course, he was doing coke and smoking crack and doing all the things, he was the rambunctious person, and he drove us further and further and further into debt. And then we get Donald Trump. And Donald Trump had everything humming like a sewing machine, like a swinger sewing machine. Everything was humming right along. And then, boom, we get hit with the pandemic. They use that political opportunism to say that he drove up the deficits and everything got worse and everything got worse. He spent $8 trillion. Well, I mean, because the country shut down. And then what did we get? We got Joe Biden. Oh, the calm, cool, collected guy who campaigned from his basement, who wasn't Donald Trump, was his only, I guess, appealing quality to a lot of people. The same people who are still questioning whether or not they should vote for Donald Trump. And what do we get? Even worse printing of money, a worse economy, a worse global security. Everything got worse under Biden. And now they're trying the same old trick they did with Obama. They're like, but it's time. It's time to put another puppet into office. Because not only the melanin, but also the genitals. Now we got to focus on the genitals, right? People aren't buying it anymore. That's the thing. People aren't buying it anymore. Because these types of folks right here, the Lindsey Grahams of the world, the Unipartians of the world, these are the ones we are trying to escape. He's talking, of course, as he does, as he said, we're going to celebrate. I think, was it Christmas in Tehran? I think it was back in I think it was during Obama's years. I forget when it was. But Lindsey Graham urges strikes on Iranian energy infrastructure after missile barrage on Israel. Bomb Iran. Get us embroiled in another war because my donors in Raytheon and Boeing and all those places are losing a fortune since silly Donald Trump got us out of our forever wars, or started the process. And there's not any more on the horizon. We got to start it now so that Trump has to deal with it when he's in office. That's what people don't understand. Like, they want us to get into this war because Donald Trump is saying, I'm going to get us out of all these conflicts. We're pulling out. We're not going to be involved. NATO's going to pay their fair share. We're going to do, all these great things that are going to bring our money and our resources back to America. We're going to stop shedding our blood and throwing our treasure all over these foreign countries, and we're going to start spending it on Americans and spending it here in our own country. And people like Lindsey Graham and his donors are going to lose a fortune. And Dan Crenshaw and people like that, they're going to lose a fortune. So they say, Dan Crenshaw didn't say this, but Lindsey Graham does, let's bomb Iran. Let's get ourselves embroiled in World War III. And do it now before Donald Trump gets elected president of the United States, because when he gets elected, it's 4 horrible years of us not being in conflict across the globe. Lindsey Graham, in behind closed doors, and I am so convinced of this, is saying, give me any Democrat, give me any mainstream Republican over Donald Trump. I bet he votes Kamala Harris, because that's what benefits his donors. That's what benefits the military-industrial complex. Donald Trump doesn't benefit them. They hate him. Now, I'm going to be interested. This was a funny article here. Trump went on Ben Shapiro, which is kind of shocking, to be honest. And, I'm bumping up on I try to set a 30-minute time limit for myself, so I'm bumping up on the 30-minute time limit. But Trump went on Ben Shapiro and was talking about Kamala Harris. And, I wonder how this is going to go. And I don't listen to Ben Shapiro a whole lot these days. But Ben Shapiro has been a huge supporter of support to Israel, obviously, because he's, I think, an Orthodox Jew, or he's just a very religious Jew. He's a very committed Jew. And I think that the billions and billions that we are spending on Israel could be scaled back. I'm okay with Israel buying weapons from us. I think we should sell them if you want to sell them at a bit of a discount. Give them the friends and family discount or something like that. But we don't have the billions to pump into Israel that we have been. So let Israel, if they want to go to war, let them expend their blood and treasure. We'll give it to them at a discount, and you can buy your Stingers for a very fair price, less than the standard market value. But. I think, Ben Shapiro kind of has to side with Donald Trump. But in this instance, they were going after Kamala Harris, which is a good thing, because Kamala Harris deserves to be gone after.
I watched her. I got to.
Oh, here we go. Let's, oopsie. Let me pull up the link here. My bad. Thank you all for your patience. I didn't have that video pulled up, and I thought I did. Here we go.
And she has. I watched her. I got to watch last night, 60 Minutes. And she answers questions like a child. This is not a president. She's answering questions in the most basic way and getting killed over it. And every time she does an interview, she sounds like a child. She sounds like a person with a very low IQ. I watched her. I got to watch.
Okay, look. He's not wrong. And for the Donald Trump haters out there, I will say Donald Trump doesn't give the most succinct answers. But when it comes to Kamala Harris, there is zero substance behind the answers. In fact, if you look at her Oprah interview, her ABC interview, and then her 60 Minutes interview, the exact same talking points were used in all 3 interviews. There was nothing different in the delivery. Nothing different in the specifics. She doesn't care about the specifics. She doesn't need the specifics. She does the hand motions, and she does the voice inflections and the emotion that she because she thinks she's being deep. So she's applying all this to the way she's presenting the fact that we have hopes and dreams and aspirations, and we want to do what we are capable of doing and what we should be capable of doing in the long term for the greatness of this wonderful country. She doesn't ever tell you exactly how she's going to do this, which is through Marxism and through, you could just read the legislation, read between the lines and the specifics, and I won't get into that. But at least Donald Trump says, this is who I'm going after and how I'm going after them. He doesn't give all the specifics, because you're not going to give, as J.D. Vance said during his debate, I'm not going to sit up here and recite a 900-page policy plan, with all the specifics, because people would fall asleep. But just understand that we have a written out step-by-step plan on how to do this. Kamala doesn't have that at all. She doesn't even understand the basics around the issues that she says she's going to fix. Donald Trump does. And how do we know he does? Because he has proven that he does. In a 4-year term where things were better, where war was not spread around the globe. It took 4 years of Joe Biden for the Middle East to kick off, for Ukraine and Russia to kick off, for tensions with China to build, for the war between Israel and Gaza, Israel and Hamas to spread to Iran, to Turkey, to Lebanon. It's getting worse, not better. The economy is getting worse, not better. Jobs are going out, not coming in. Immigrants are coming in, not going out. Our tax burden is getting greater. And even the organizations, as I said at the start of the show, like FEMA, they don't even have the ability to respond to the most basic of things that they are meant to respond to. Earthquakes, hurricanes. Say we're already out of money because we gave it to all the people that Joe Biden led across the border and Kamala Harris led across the border, by the way. It's just not that difficult. Stop looking at the tweets. Stop listening to the sound bites that you hear on MSNBC, ABC, CBS, and CNN. Compare the past 3.5 years to the 4 years of Donald Trump, and the decision is not hard. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. God bless you. God bless America.